See if I can't knock one down. This is the point where you could accidentally knock one of these down. So you gotta be very careful. This stuff's not screwed into place or anything like that yet. Gotta be very careful on how you position these because they could rot right out on you. Okay, pretty close. Looks like I need to whip this one a little bit. It's looking good on this side. Come look over here. Looks like I need to go in. I'm about 1.5 inches shy. Okay. So this is flush. Now let me put some screws in here. And then we'll go fix that side there. So the back side, again, we got 2 screws back here. Again, we want to make sure that we're flush down onto the strong tie, which we are. I can feel it. Now that we have this connection made with these 2 screws, there's a lot less movement that can happen as far as this thing falling on us. Okay, now let's go check out this side. I can already tell that we need to go that way a little bit. So, there we go. Got it right there. Just takes a little bit of adjustment. One. Two. 2 on the back side. I've already felt that we're pretty close to flush. Down below on the strong tie, so we're good there. Okay, now we're good. So now we still have 4 holes here that are 3-inch screws, and 4 holes here that are 3-inch screws. They're 3-inch screws because they're going into the 4x4. So let's go ahead and put those in. See about giving you guys a better view here, better angle of it. Those are the screws we need to put in right there. Gonna have to adjust our clutch. Remember last time it was 9 that worked good, so I put it back to 9. Might even need 11. Okay, let's try this second one. 11 works good. Let's go to the inside. Kind of rare that that happens. I ran into that other screw. Okay, so let me figure out where I could go. I think I'm going to aim that screw down a little bit and maybe I can get out of it. power this baby through. So let's go to drill speed 1. We're high torque and we're gonna just shove that baby in. No clutch at this point. Okay, now we'll go back to our clutch setting. We'll go finish the other side. So we're looking at the same thing on this side now. Go back to high range. Okay, things are looking pretty good. Everything is very solid. We're set there. Now we're going to add this outside board and we'll have our skeleton ready. Now that we have this thing connected on the back, we don't have to worry so much about things falling down as much as we did before, because we have our structure established. Okay, so we want this board to sit right here, nice and flush on the bottom. We're going to put our 1 1/4" screws. Let's not forget to adjust our clutch to a low setting again. I think we were doing about 5 or something. So we're flush. This edge of the board is flush against this beam, and I'm kind of bending downward, making it flush against the bottom. I'll double check before I put all the screws in. So these are real simple 1 1/4" screws. They go in real easy, no problems at all. Plenty strong. Plenty of tension to hold this thing together. Now we'll go over here and finish this side. Same thing. We have a gap here. So I need to push this piece together right there. Nice and tight. And I need to go down in the strong tie. That's another reason why these ghost lines are there. So I didn't forget that. You notice I put the screw in at an angle. Purpose for that was so that it would pull the board in nice and tight. We're going to do the on the back side now, 2 screws. Okay, now that we have all the 1 1/4" in, it's time to do that 3-inch screw again. There was 4 on each side, so a total of 8 screws. 3-inch screws. Let's go take a look at that. My apology for the crazy camera work here, folks. Sorry if you're looking at the ground and stuff. It's a little bit difficult to build a project and film. Okay, so there's our 3-inch screws that we're going to need. there. So 2 for each part. Now my clutch is going to have to go back up to about 9 or 10. I think it was 11 that I was on. Got to be a little bit careful right here, because right there where I'm pointing with that screw, there's a big old knot there. So got to be careful with knots. Going around knots, that could be bad because you could hit that knot and split your piece of wood. So we'll try to avoid that. There we go. Okay, let's go to the other side. Same thing. Okay, at this point, we have to make our marks for where we're going to put our supports inside. So I'm going to measure from here all the way to here. I have a total of 140 inches. So I'm going to deduct that by half, and that's the 70-inch mark. So 70 inches is where my center support is going to go. Now if you go further and you go half of 70, that's going to be 35. So we're going to go about right there approximately. We'll mark that. So we got the 35-inch mark. We have the 70-inch mark. And we're going to come from this side back another 35 inches, half of 70. And we're going to mark this one too, 35 inches. Right there. So this will tell us where we're going to put our joists underneath, which will strengthen our bench. Now the reason we cut this down to 140 inches is because when we put the 12-footers on here for the decking on top, we want a little bit of an overhang on this side and also on each end. So we're hoping for about 1.5 inches overhang on that side, this side, and on the front. And it'll be flush on the back. So I'm going to mark this now, 35, 70, so that I know where these supports are going to go. 35 is right here. 70 is right here. And I'm looking to make sure they correspond. Now we'll go from here. We'll come back 35 inches. Right there. And just to double check, we'll make sure that, yep, it's right on the money. It's at 70 inches. So now I'll make all my marks. Make sure that everything is where it needs to be. And I'll take a measurement of the inside distance between these two boards, which should be 24 inches, and that's those 3 pieces that we cut earlier. got that all marked out. Let's take a look. Measure from inside to inside. Yep, right on the money at 24 inches. So we're set on that. Now we need to grab those 3 pieces of wood that we previously cut and some 3-inch screws, and we're going to start laying these in, and then we'll install the strong ties, the joist hangers. So these are the 3 pieces of 24 inches. They're all the same size. So we're going to start on the ends here. We're going to put them on center. We're going to run 3-inch screws, 3-inch screws on each side. I'll start on the back here. So everything's flush on the top. Okay, we got that one done. Got to hold this a little bit so that I can get the drill in the correct position. So I'm leaning into it. And obviously the screws are going right in my lines. So I need a total of 6. I think I got 7 there. Let's go with the next one. Okay, keep that baby flush. Don't worry about trying to countersink these screws, because if you go too heavy into this board on its end like this, all you'll do is strip it out. So be careful of that. Don't want to strip that out. That's why you heard the clutch engage, because I went back to my clutch. Go to the back side. Okay, 6 more screws. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Let's take a closer look. So here's our mark. Kind of bow it out a little bit. If you have one that's stubborn, doesn't want to go in real good, then what you can do is you can take a scrap piece of wood. You know, we had plenty of scraps from earlier, and you can use that as a hammer if you don't have a hammer. And I don't carry a hammer for this project, it's all screws. So. I'm just holding it to make sure it doesn't tweak on me. Once that second screw gets in there, it's not really going to tweak on you. So here we go. We're nice and flush there. In fact, I'd like to be just a hair higher. There we go, that looks good. 2, and the last one right here. There, we're set. It looks nice. So now we have the basic skeleton of this thing built. Now it's time to put the decking on the top. Okay, right now you can see that I have a scrap piece of wood in my hand. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to screw this right here. This is temporary. This is for a couple of reasons. I'll explain here in a second what this is for. Doesn't have to be like permanently attached because I'm going to take it out again later. But I'm going to put one of these on each end, and these are going to be for a guide for that overhang so that I can go flush with this outside of this board. Plus I'll be able to use it to get measurements off of, to see how long my cut needs to be and things of that nature. Okay, here we are on the other side. We're going to put this temporary piece on. The main thing that you need for this temporary piece is for it to be flush on the top here. So now I'm going to take my tape measure. I'm going to measure from way over here all the way to here, and I should have 12 feet. Yep, I'm actually an inch shy, which is good, so we're doing good. So I can set my boards down here. Now I should figure out what measurements I need to do to cut out of the piece of wood that's going to sit up here. Now, if I remember correctly, from the inside to the outside here, it should be approximately 5 inches, and it is, and it should be 3.5 inches deep, or on the inside, 3.5 inches, which it is. So that's the slot that I'm going to need to cut out of the 12-footer. That's going to be my first decking board. I'm going to just lay this up here. We're going to go grab our saw, our square, earplugs, all that good stuff. And we're going to get prepared to make a cut here. And we don't want to get too ahead of ourselves in laying the decking down yet, because we don't want to not put in our strong ties. We still have to put those in underneath. So I'm going to come in 5 inches approximately, make a mark, and then I'm going to come in 3.5 inches, make a mark. I'll trace out that pattern And that should be the exact dimensions that I need to cut out of this first piece. So this piece right here will be gone. And that should fit right up in here nice. And I'll need to do the same thing on the other end, but I won't do that until I cut this notch first, because I need to measure just to make sure that everything is what I want it to be. So let me put my earplugs in and we'll make this cut. Okay, this is a little bit intricate of a cut, so we're not going to really pay attention to having the shoe on the right side here, because obviously we'd have to cut from the underneath to do that. So I'm going to line this up and I'm going to cut in to about here. Go just a little bit past the line because I need to finish it from underneath. I'll do that in a second. So this is what we're looking like. I went past a little bit. I'll flip this board over, and now I have to make these two lines connect. And bear with me, I gotta put myself in front of the camera for a second. There we go, it popped out nice and easy. This piece again goes into the scrap bin. Now we're going to put this notch into position on this side. We have our overhang, we're flush. Now we'll go to the other end and we'll mark that and cut that too. Okay, here we are on the other end. So I'm going to push the board this way, away from me, that way. And what that's going to do is that's going to give me an idea of where to mark for my first cut. Something like this. Now we know that this is 3.5 inches. So we're only going to go 3.5 inches right here. That's the depth, or excuse me, that's the length that we're going to need. Just like that. And the mark that we made is right there. So we're going to go right there. So we're going to make this cut right here. Let me get this camera repositioned a little bit. That's where our cut is going to go. So we'll make this cut first. Now this secondary cut, and then we'll flip it over again. And it's always important to make sure that your saw blade is turning before you hit the material. So we're going to go here. Something like that. And now I'm going to come right here. And that piece fell out, and that's what we were hoping for. This piece here is going to go into the junk pile. Now we're going to rotate this into position. And hopefully it should fit nice. Oh yeah, that fit really nice. but we're not ready to screw this down quite yet. We need to put in our rafter ties before we can start screwing this decking down. Okay, it's time for some vacuuming again. If you notice your vacuum starting to lose its suction power, take you some sort of bowl or bucket or something and open this chamber up and notice that it was full. It was full of sawdust. When you dump that sawdust out, that basically brings this vacuum cleaner back to life. They don't suck up this stuff very well when they are full. So now I should have plenty of power again. There we go. It's a little bit of sawdust there. Pretty crazy. And that stuff is excellent for fire starting material. Making your own fire starter. Works really good. If you notice, on each joist, I have put two rafter ties, ties. Okay, now it's one for the front and one for the back on each joist. These are going to be 1¼ inch screws, and I'm going to go ahead and install these. There are, however, going to be 4 screws on each rafter tie on each side, so a total of 8 screws that are going to be 3-inch screws. So what I like to do to install these ties is I like to bend them together. I want them to be tight on the top so that when I stick them underneath, they kind of hold themselves into position. Now these 2 screws right here on each side are 1¼ inch, and these 2 screws are going to toenail in to this piece of wood, so we're going to use the longer 3-inch screws for those ones. So let me zoom in a little bit and give you guys a good view of that. Again, you want to make sure that they're fairly flush to the bottom of the joist. So I'm going to do both sides, and then I'll put the 3-inch screws in. Here comes the 3-inch screws. They're going to toenail in. Hopefully you'll be able to see this. There we go. And that has plenty of material to go into. We're going to do the same thing on this other side. 2 3-inch screws. If you don't have these ties, you don't really need them for this project. They just help add strength to the whole thing. So now we're going to move on to this side. We're going to do the same exact thing. So we're going to start by pinching this guy so that we can stick it up there and it'll kind of hold itself a little bit. And you notice that there's a knot underneath this top screw hole. That could present a little bit of problems. We'll take a look and see how it goes. So I'm going real tight underneath. We'll put the bottom screw in first. We are flush. Okay, that one kind of stripped out. Let's try to go on the edge of that knot, away from it as much as possible. We don't want to put too much pressure on it. We're going to do the same thing on the inside on this other side. I think my clutch is a little high. I'm going to back it down to about 5. Okay, now let's get those 3-inch screws. Toenail these babies in. Okay, 2 more 3-inch on the inside. Okay, we need more clutch. Let's go up to 9. These 3-inch screws, they need a little more. Okay, there we have it. So that's installing the Raptor ties. I'm going to do these other 2 sets here. However, there's not really a need to watch me do it, I guess, because you've already seen what it takes, but I will let the camera roll just in case you guys want to watch. So I'm going to adjust my clutch down to 5 for the 1 1/4 here. Let's pinch this baby together, put it up there nice and flush. Make sure we're flush. That looked good. These are going to help make this bench very strong. And no flex. No flex at all. Let me get 1 more screw and then I'll put this side in and then we'll do all the 3-inch screws all in one whack, both sides. I love this drill because during the operation you see that battery indicator, so as you're working you know how much power you've got left in your batteries. That's just a great feeling to know exactly where you stand on your battery life. That's such a cool feature. It even has an indicator on the battery itself too. You can push at any time. The front says we're full, but the back says we have 3 bars. So now let's get those handful of 3-inch screws. And let's bump our clutch up once again to about 10. We'll toenail these babies in. Toenailing is the process of putting a screw or a nail in at an angle in an effort to catch another piece of wood. So it would go in something like that. Hopefully you can see that. That's what toenailing looks like. Almost done. There we go. Now we'll go on to the next one. At this point, we need to put another piece of decking on. Okay, and we are gonna take this little piece of wood here, and we're gonna just hold that against this so we can get a kind of a flush idea. And because remember, we wanted that little bit of an overhang, so we're going to make a mark on the inside, on the back side of this 4x4. I'll show you here. We're going to make a little mark where it's touching that piece of wood. Right here. Now that we have that mark, we're going to put that in, and we need 3.5 plus 1.5 inches overhang. So that's 5 inches. So that's 3.5, 4.5. So that's 5 inches. So that's about right there. So we're not going to have much left on this piece of wood. We're going to have a very thin piece of wood here. Hopefully you can see what I did there. We're going to go ahead and get our earplugs in, and we'll make this cut. This piece is going to come out. So we need this much so that we have the 1.25 inch, or excuse me, 1.5 inch overhang right here. And then we're going this far in because we need this 1.5 inch overhang here, if you follow me. Okay, I've got my glasses on, I've got my earplugs in. Let's go ahead and get this battery out. Put it in our saw. We're going to find us a scrap piece of wood to lift this up. Now, I made a correction. I came back 1/2 inch because I only want a 1 inch overhang after all on this side. So I made that quick correction just to let you guys know. And let's get this a little more so my saw will fit right there. Okay, coming over here. And let's flip this baby over. Finish those 2 cuts. Set the saw right there for now. And let's see if we can't pop that out. Get rid of that little piece of wood that's straggling behind. We have another piece for the scrap pile. And now, when I line this up and tighten it up on this end over here, that'll give me a 1 inch overhang. It'll give me 1.5 inches on the side. And it'll also give me a chance to go to the other side, mark, and cut that side there. Okay, so just like we were on the other side, we have this thing butted up. and we're going to make a mark right there. Okay, that mark is going to be the mark that we're going to, let's see, saw there. Don't want my saw falling. Okay, so let's take that mark all the way over. So we're actually going to come in, not 5 inches, but 3.5 plus 1, so 4.5. So we're going to make this adjustment. Let me move this out of the way down there. These things are heavy. They're heavy. There we go. Now I can make, what is it? Right here. Make that line, and that looks familiar. I'm comparing it. I'm looking down the board at the other side to see if it corresponds, if it looks the same, and it does. So now we're going to take our little block here and cut that out. Cut that section out. Let's see if I can't get my saw in here. Okay, let's change the angle, so I don't want the camera and the view to be bad here. Let's make this cut. Just like before, let's flip it over. And we'll connect the dots there. Go. There's another piece for the scrap pile, and I'm pulling all the little threads and all that stuff out. Looks like I might need another vacuum job.